So I am going to go ahead and turn this over to Dr. Boone and to Tom Capretis. So they can tell you about what they're going to talk about and tell you a little bit about themselves too.
Great. Thank you, Bernadette, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you all this afternoon. So I'm Barbara Boone, and I work at The Ohio State University in the Center on Education and Training for Employment. And we are a team in that center, and our focus is on being a statewide family engagement center for Ohio. And so I direct that team there and have been working in the field of family engagement and education for a long time. We're counting it in decades now. And that's, it's a passion of mine, but it's also such an important area where we recognize that families and schools working together is really the best place for our kids to learn and grow. So I'm really thrilled to be with all of you here today. And just a little bit of my background, I was an early childhood educator and an administrator, and then became a researcher and a consultant with students and worked at the Department of Education for a few years, but I've been at Ohio State for about a decade now, working in this field of family engagement and education. It's great to be with all of you here.
Yeah, I echo that. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. My name is Tom Capretta, and I'm the researcher and project coordinator here at the Statewide Family Engagement Center in Ohio at The Ohio State University. And what I do here is I actually help the Department of Education in anything that they require related to family engagement. We do a lot of training and helping people find resources and vet resources and things of that nature. And I also come from a background of both being an elementary school teacher and also being the family engagement guy at the Department of Education for some time before I came here. So I'm happy, and it's good to be back here today.
Mm-hmm.
So really quickly, and just to give you a frame of where we're headed today, if you didn't catch it on the front slide, we're going to be talking about family engagement and kind of ways to think about that in your work and in your organizations that you'll go back to tomorrow morning. And what this is going to look like today is we'll go through some little introductions, and we'll set some learning objectives for today. And then we're going to make a move to kind of highlight the way family engagement's changed over time and kind of where our attitudes and beliefs rest today in the literature and best practices. We're also going to talk about some principles of effective family engagement. So in this section, maybe you'll be able to identify some things you're doing well that you can build upon, or maybe some things you'd like to practice more, and use this to kind of guide your practice and the way you're thinking about partnering with families. And we're definitely going to show you some resources. The main way to connect with us is on our website, and we'll take you there today, give you all the links and our little tips for getting around there. And then we'll just see if there's anything else we can do for you or any questions we can answer. If there's no huge objections, which you could share in the chat at any time, I think we'll keep on moving and look at what those learning targets are for today.
So here's where we're headed. So the first thing we want to do is we are going to talk about the shift we're making from old ways of thinking to new ways of thinking. And so we're going to do a little old way, new way, but hopefully in that, we're going to be presenting with you what is sort of research-based, what we're learning from great experiences and more deeper understanding about how families and schools best work together for kids all ages here. So we're talking kindergarten through all through those high school years as well. So this old way, new way, we hope that you get really comfortable with that. The second thing is this idea of these core principles of effective family engagement. Now, I have to admit that sounds kind of dry. Like, what am I going to do with core principles? Like, give me something I can use. And I think what I want to say is the way we're going to look at these core principles and play around with them and use them together is we're going to use them. We're going to see how they really apply. So I hope that they are things that you walk away with. And we also shared with you like an infographic that has them all sort of highlighted there. So maybe there's some space for you to kind of take some notes and that sort of thing to grab ideas around that. So we're going to be working with those. And then the other thing is these resources. We feel these one-time short interactions like we're going to be able to have with you today. It's a great time to kind of get aware about something, learn about something, but it's hard to really make big change from something like this. But if you've got some place you can go back to, get some resources from, you know how to tap into and get more, be able to attend some other trainings that we do, tap into some of the courses that we offer, just call us and talk to us and see how we can help you in particular. You know, we're here and we want you to kind of understand the breadth of resources that are available for you to access after you leave here today.
Thank you. So, just as we get started here, we just want to make you all aware, we'll be monitoring the chat throughout this presentation. So if you have any questions, comments, something's hard to get to, a link didn't work or something, please let us know in the chat immediately. Feel free to drop questions there throughout. We'll also have a period for questions and answers towards the end too. Be sure to get those to us so we can think about those together. But to get started here, we want to hear from you first. We're going to get onto a Mentimeter. I hope that some of you are familiar with that, but if not, trust me, it's not too tricky. There's 3 ways to get there, so hopefully one of them works for you. The first way a lot of people find success, simply scan the QR code. Hopefully from COVID times, dinner menus and things like that, we've gotten reacquainted with QR codes. Another way you can get on this page with us is if you go to menti.com, type in this red code on the screen you see here, and we'll also be dropping a link in the chat right now. I'm going to leave this up here just for a couple seconds, and then I will be able to get over there with you and see what's going on. I'm going to just do a quick exit here to get the link. Okay, that's what the Mentimeter space looks like. I'm gonna put this just back up just for 1 second and we'll hop back over there.
We had a question about, we are recording the session. So, and we did attach some handouts sort of thing. If you want to see them online or print them, those are available to you. So hopefully you're into the Mentimeter. Anybody having any questions about that, let us know in the chat.
We'll give a couple.
The recording, and I'm just going to interrupt for a moment here to let everyone know the recording will be posted on our related services meetup page. It takes about a week to get it posted after today. So Carrie Hunt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okie dokie. So we're going to start with an easy question. Hopefully it's one that you feel comfortable answering. Oh no, what happened? Okay, bear with me for 1 second, please. I know that I see about 45 people in the session list. So if you can join us at any time by clicking over to that link, but we'll keep on keeping on here. So it's great to see this, super helpful for us to see that most of you are working across all grades. And that's perfect. A lot of what we're going to say today, you know, there might be some considerations or angles if you're in a specific grade band or something, but a lot of what we'll be talking about today, we hope that you'll be able to take and apply to however you're thinking about partnering with families in your work across these grade spans. Thanks for continuing to jump on here too, appreciate it. And don't worry, for those of you in pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade, we'll make sure that everything sticks for you as well. So next question incoming, I think this one will be not too tricky for y'all either, please share your role. There's just an open space there for one word. Go ahead and share that now if you can. Language. So, okay, so we're getting all types of stuff. School psychologists, administrators, student services, love student services people. Consultant, executive director sounds fancy. That's very cool. Thanks for being here today. Speech and language pathologists, occupational therapy, all types of good things in here. So one thing I'm noticing, just from this real quick grab of who's here in the room, what roles we have, is it's hard for me to maybe pick out any one of these here that aren't going to come in contact with families at some point in their work. So hopefully some of the things that you're going to take from here today will be really useful when you're thinking through those things. And we'll get into the details of maybe why this is significant in a little bit. But we see a range of things here today, and that's perfect. And that's actually really beautiful group of people we have here today. You have a couple more seconds if you want to drop theirs in there. And then I'm going to ask you a question that might make you think just a little bit more than before. Okay, so here is the question we need a little bit of brain power for. In one word, describe how families support their child's education and well-being. Only one word. Please. Thank you. Some great entries here, I think. Also, really positive entries too. Barb, what are you seeing here?
Well, it is, I love that there are, well, the word love is in here, and that is really cool to me, and trust and understanding. I think that we understand the stressors that people are under, the huge responsibilities people have, and really being engaged and working together in families with our schools and with their kiddos. It does include these sort of it's not all work, it's not work. It's not this just, if they would just do these things more often, but it's really about I love the best they can. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's a great way to sort of see each other, is that, we're doing the best we can, whether it's our perspectives of families or our families' perspectives of our schools. Communication, I love that that's big there. I also, the slide before this, where I was looking at all those roles, and I thought each of these people are in a role where you're in a place where families will really trust and look to you, and you're also in a place where staff trust and look to you. And many, if not all of you, seem to be in a space where you can really impact a lot of folks, and be that bridge between, be that person who says, well, what about families? Or have we considered our families here? Or with our families, helping them to really understand our staff. So I think there's so many of you that are in that really cool space to help bring our families and schools together to build these things, their involvement together, their trust of one another, their advocating as well. So I think we're in a great place.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to move from here to think about how in our roles as educators or administrators, but in that educational cascade, and certainly family-facing professionals, how we can build on these things that families are already doing, how we can build on our skills and bring them together for student success. Flip back. So with that, we're actually gonna move on from our Mentimeter. So thanks for those of you that jumped in. That's a fun little tool. I encourage you to check that out if you're ever in big groups of people trying to do something like that. But we're gonna move on for today. And I mentioned before that we're gonna get into why family engagement is really significant. And family engagement sounds really nice, right? Sounds great. It sounds like hugs and like niceties and rainbows, but it's a lot more than that. Really, it's just not nice stuff. It's not just coming together. Family engagement also isn't about doing new or different from a school or district perspective. It's really about reimagining the great work you're already doing so that all families can collaborate fully and be included in the education of their children. Because when everyone comes together to support that children, everyone benefits. And when I say everyone, let me show you what I mean here. The literature really speaks for itself on these topics. Family engagement doesn't just have benefits for students, it has benefits for teachers too. So one thing we know is that not all school preparation programs or teacher preparation programs and things of that nature prepare teachers, future education leaders to be interfacing with other adults. It's not normally the easiest or thing they're most prepared for. So building strong family school partnerships, one thing it does is increase confidence, promoting academic engagement with students. Teachers feel that. And the literature supports this. And the literature also supports that we've increased efficacy for assisting parents. That's really important, right? If we want to have parents helping get to the educational ends we dream for all children, we should be confident and good at doing that. So great family school partnerships help us with that. It also increases a sense of trust. And this came up in that word cloud that we did. Trust is so significant. There's such deep literature on trust and relationships, and specifically in school. And increasing the sense of trust in families is really important for student outcomes and for effective partnership. This one's easy, right? School is not just for academic outcomes, but it is definitely what we're paying attention to, and we want to see success for all children. Family school partnerships are linked to academic success for children, so that's helpful. It's where we're headed. It's what we're focused on. It also helps improve behavior. That is comes straight from the literature as well. Now, here's a big one for teachers. You see all over the news, and it's even outside of the news, this has kind of been a narrative in education for a while now, that people leave the profession, they get burnt out, all this stuff. Well, great family school partnerships actually increase job satisfaction and retention for teachers in schools where this is going on well. So what a benefit. From investing in strong family school partnerships, we're also investing in our human capital in schools.
All right, so let's jump in and think a little bit about this shift that we need to make in order to have family engagement that's going to have those impacts that Tom just talked about. We know that not everything we do is as effective, right? Whether it's our reading instruction, whether it's the social emotional learning curriculum that we're using, some are impactful, some are not. The same thing goes with our practices, the things that we do that help us to build those partnerships, the communication we have with families, things that we work at to build trust. And so we understand the families of our students, the ways that we share progress with them and how their kids are doing. All of those things, there are ways that are effective, there are ways that are more effective. And we're really going to land there for a little bit of time here. But we need to make a shift. Just like we have made shifts in our math curriculum and in our how we administer our schools, what we measure in our reading curriculum, it's the same thing for family engagement. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about an old way. First one here. Family engagement's optional. It's not really impactful. we can kind of do with, do without. If we have a budget cut, let's just not do that. We don't need to direct skills toward, we don't need professional learning about it because it's like fluff in a sense. But what we know, that's not true. And it's really not debatable. Sometimes I even think about taking this off this slide, right? But if instead, what we realize, it's central to the work that we do. We have years and years of research that shows us that the work that we do with families is central to the work that we do in schools. And that's about kids learning, about them growing up to be healthy, hopeful adults who can go on to learning and careers outside of school, that they're working together well with peers, that they get along with their teachers. Engaging with families is central to the work that we do in schools. So it's not, should we do anything with the families? It's, we can't do this without our families. Whatever we're discussing on the agenda is, should be then, so what about our families, right? That's the way we see that. It's so we don't debate this any longer, not something we're trying to guess about. We know that's how it is. Another thing that we used to practice that we still see quite a bit, and it's a shift we're making, is that when we think, all right, we need to do something, we need to really get together with our families around our attendance policy, around our new, program we're doing around graduation. So we say, let's have an event. We plan a party, we plan an event, we set a time, we pick a location, we might serve some food, we prepare for it. We hold an event. But what we know is that those events are not impactful. They don't move the needle. And they take an awful lot of our resources, our time, our energy, our attention to do something that's not taking effect. What is effective are those family engagement practices that we do that are kind of day to day, week to week, sustained over time. What we should be paying attention to is the communication that we have with families, that it's understandable, that it's two-way, that we're hearing from families and informing families, that we know the families of our kiddos. We're aware of the cultures and the values and the needs and the interests of those families of the kids that we're working with. It's understanding our families. These are the things that we do day in and day out. We're talking about kids' behavior. We're talking about their progress in their various courses. Those things that we do regularly with families, that leads to change. So it's not the once a year conference and the one night in the spring we do something. Events-based family engagement is not the most impactful. And so we need to really think about, if we've got limited resources, where are we going to put it? School-centric. Oftentimes in our family engagement, we are thinking is, we're trying to get this to do this with kids. How can we get families to help us? We need help over here. How do we get families to help us? It's kind of like, how do we get families to do what we're trying to do here? Our kids aren't reading. They're not on target. Let's get families to do more. Right? We're shifting that way, instead of being family centered, instead of thinking what is what we're asking of families, does it fit with our families? Is it doable for our families? Is it enjoyable? Is it an opportunity that our families can really tap into that's going to make a difference for them? I think sometimes about how we enroll students. Say a family-centered way would be a family can come in, I kind of enroll all of my kiddos. I can get everything that, hooked up to any resources I might need, learn about those after-school programs, learn about those enrichment programs, right? I can really get everybody in my family on board. A school-centric one might be, well, with this child, you need to drive over there and get that service. And you want this child? Well, you're going to need to go over there, right? So we're splitting them up because our services are, all around the place, right? So you can see, that's just my silly example I thought of right now of something that's school-centric, what fits us, kind of how we're organized versus how can we organize so that this is family-centered. All right, another one, compliance. We do it because we have to. Well, we do have to. Engaging with families for schools and for districts is a mandated element of any school receiving Title I funds, Title III funds, Title IV funds. We're all receiving these federal dollars. Schools must engage with families. And there's some pretty explicit things there for us to do, but that's not why we do it. Why is it in legislation, right? Why is this important? Why, it's not just because the research says we should, so therefore we should comply with all these studies that researchers are doing, because working together communicating well with one another, understanding for one another, advocating for kids together leads to trust. When our adult families trust,
and I said, well, not me.
we're going to mute. Susan, thank you. All right. When we have trust, and it's something that our staff trusts our families, we see great gains for our students. Tom was alluding to them earlier because you all were talking about trust. This is something we can measure, that we can see that when that trust is built between home and school, we see kids academically and behaviorally are performing much better. So we do it because we need to build trust. Another thing is intermittent. Like we see it as okay, well, let's do something this fall, then we'll do something in the winter, and then we'll do something in the spring. It's kind of here and there. Or we say, you know what, we've got this one teacher in 9th grade in science who just does a great job connecting with families. Or we've got this one 3rd grade team in this one elementary school that's doing a phenomenal job. It's kind of random acts of great family engagement, as opposed to this systemic family engagement that we help families, we welcome them in, we help them to work through our system. Things make sense from year to year to year with their kiddos, that we engage with families throughout this lifespan, the age grades of our students. We have a system. We have district leadership that supports it at the building level. We have a plan. We're supporting family engagement, and we want to see school-wide practices, right? Just like we would when we're supporting behavior, just like we would if we're trying to support literacy at the early years and the middle years and those adolescent years, right? We have a system of supports for that. And the next thing, how do we measure it? How do we know if we're really engaging with families? What we often will do in the past, we'll say, 25 families showed up. That was great. Or only 25 families showed up. That wasn't so great. We count heads and we say success. And I don't know of any other place in our school we would just count the number of people in a room and say this was successful, right? If we've got kids in a program and they're learning about careers in high school, and we have 30 kids in the room, when we say that was success there because there were 30 kids in the room, we measure success by, did those kids have a better understanding of their careers? Did they see themselves in those careers? Do they know how to get to those careers? Those are the ways we would measure success. Same thing with family engagement. What are those impacts? We're going to work together with families. Are we seeing improved attendance? Are we seeing fewer referrals to the office? Are we seeing families who feel confident that that their child's they understand their child's progress in their in school? Like, what are those impacts, those specific things that we're trying to do? And that's what we need to get to. That is the new way of family engagement that we really all need to move towards. And probably lastly here is that it's for some. We might be sitting in a staff meeting after an event and say, well, not everybody came. The people who I wished were going to come didn't come. Or, well, we have 8 members of a PTA. That's great. That's family engagement for some. Instead of looking at that data and saying, we planned something and only 25 families really engaged with us, really responded to us, that's data for us. Why? Because we're not about just working with some kids. We don't just want some kids to have a great future. We want all kids to have that. That means we work with all families. So we're looking outside. So here's who we're currently engaging with. What are we going to do in order to reach the families of all students? That's where we're headed in family engagement. That's the shift that we all need to make. All right. So here's where we're going to talk about some principles, but I want you to roll up your sleeves and put on like your thinking cap. And also, if you would kind of get your hands a little closer, if they're not already there, to your keyboard, because I'd like you to use the chat with me here. Okay. So I want you to imagine with me, we have this interaction between a school staff person and a family member. Now, I saw all sorts of roles on that screen where Tom was asking me your role. I think I saw some teachers, I saw a parent mentor, I saw school psychologists, I saw school counselors, I saw administrators, right? Lots of you. So I want you to either picture yourself in this meeting with a parent, or I want you to maybe envision, the parent teacher conference or the IEP meeting, or a meeting to talk about a kiddo's behavior or their plan for post-secondary options, right? So picture that meeting. We don't have to give it, a specific name, because I think you have lots of these, lots to pick from, but I want you to choose one for you to sort of think about now. And if I could probably choose for one for all of us to interact with, let's just choose in general, like we have a parent-teacher conference happening in front of us here on the screen. Okay, so let's react to this. So let's talk about what makes for this great interaction. Where do we really see that these two people are working toward that trust, are working together with one another well in that sort of new way? So the first way, let's talk about this, starting early. Okay, and if I can step back for just a moment, sometimes I give this description and maybe this helps you. I have, a parent walks into the room A to have a parent-teacher conference, and the parent will also walk into room B and have a parent-teacher conference. In room A, that parent feels informed, they feel supported, that teacher feels like they have a great interaction with that parent, they understand one another, they feel like they're getting on the same page, right? That can happen. It can also happen in the next room where they're doing the same thing, that parent feels beaten up. They feel more confused. They feel judged as a parent. They don't know what's going on at school, right? They're both parent-teacher conferences, two people sitting in a room together, same building, same time. What makes the difference? What was going on in one room and not going on in the other? These are the things that make the difference. So think with me, starting early. Starting early with family engagement is just one of those key things that you can sort of reflect on in your own practices. By starting early, I mean, starting early in the year, starting in the early grades, starting before there's a problem. So oftentimes at school, we can kind of be a little focused on problems, and that is the center of how we interact with families. We'll call you if there's a problem. We'll let you know if there's a problem. We'll notify you if there's a problem. If we aren't having problems, we're good. We don't need to, get in contact with one another. And so we're always on the, on our heels. We're always reacting to and oftentimes having to deal with a problem with someone that we have not interacted with very much, if at all. So early in a child's life, early in the year, early before there's a problem. So preventative in a sense. All right. So it's the same way if I think about attendance is important, right? So I don't want to just tell families that attendance is important and how to support their kids' attendance and our policy on attendance. I only want to do that when their kid's not attending school. Right? I want to do those preventative things to encourage their kid to be in school, to help families understand the importance of that, to help them get their kids to school. That's being preventative. So starting early. So in this parent-teacher conference in front of us, what might starting early look like in that setting to you? What would it mean to be preventative? What would happen in that meeting if we were being proactive? What might be some things that happen there? Some things they talk about. Use the chat, put an idea in there. Thanks, Cameron. Great idea. Getting input from that parent, guardian, grandparent, that caregiver who's in the room, asking them for input. What the parent wants to see for their child. Thanks, George. This is where maybe we're telling a parent about your child is struggling here. Here's what we're going to do about that. That would be preventative as opposed to saying your child, has gotten the F in this class, right? Like done deal. It's too late to do anything. But when I'm talking with a parent proactively, I'm preventing an issue. All right, Tom, let's go on to the next one, link to learning. So oftentimes when we do have an event, when we are working with families, sometimes we might have, I hear about, donuts with dad, or we have refreshments and we bring families in. Thanks, Eric, asking families about what their student likes. That's a way of being preventative, getting out in front. That family thinks you're really trying to understand my kiddo, and it's helping you in the classroom or in your role as a psychologist or as a school counselor to get to know this child so you can work with them more effectively. Linking things to learning. Whenever we're together with families, tying it to learning. So if they do attend an event, if they are reading what we're sending out, if they are checking out what's on the website or what we're posting on social media, that is helping them to understand their child's progress, how their child is learning, and what we're doing with them is linked to learning, so that they are able to partner with us in supporting their kids' learning. So if I'm in a parent-teacher conference and I want to really link this to learning, as a what might I do in that parent-teacher conference or in that meeting with that parent? Let's put some ideas in the chat. All right, I see here discussing interventions to try at home that helps the student with what is already being done in school, share videos of ways to practice things at home. Karen, that's beautiful. What a great way to, here are things you can try at home. Videos to share resources there. It's phenomenal. Sharing resources. Thank you. Great. Let's talk about expectations. All right, so with expectations, having expectations of families, no matter who they are, where their zip code is, right? How long they've lived in your community, having expectations that families care about their kiddos, they want the best for their futures, right? And when we're interacting with them, we operate from that. But also helping families to have high expectations of their kids, expressing that yourself to them, having them express that. Some of you have already said, asking them, what do you want to see for your child? I thought that was a great example, George. So we're talking about these high expectations together. We know that the expectations of adults on students really can absorb those, and their own expectations of themselves are affected by that. So we want to have that real growth mindset with families. We want to share those high expectations of their kiddos, learn about their expectations of their students as well. And together, you know, we are supporting these kids who have expectations of themselves. So that's important for us to think about that as we are in these interactions with families. Let's go on to the next one. All right, relationships matter. You know, I had my chat over there. I'm covering that for a minute. Okay, so relationships do matter. So when we think about, many families are frightened to come into the school building. Meeting with a teacher is something that for some families is a scary experience, and it can also be for our staff. So how are we sort of building relationships, welcoming families in, letting them know we want to hear from them, letting them know that their questions are welcome, but also getting to know them and building that relationship together. They do matter. We often serve food at events. I think that's a great idea. Eating food together helps us build relationships with people. So that's important. If we are going to have food in an event, let's eat that food together with families as opposed to just sort of standing behind the counter and serving it, right? But we build relationships together with families by getting to know them, by communicating with them, by listening to them, understanding that having a relationship with them so that we can work through those hard situations when they arise, that's important work for us to do. All right, let's bring out another one. Sharing progress. So we've got these two people meeting together, and informing families of how their child is progressing is important. It's important to do it in a really understandable way. We know that we often are using, you know, Power School and other things like that. We also know that that is not super accessible to a lot of families. And so how are we sharing progress with families in a really meaningful way? What might that look like in this parent meeting here to share about a child's progress with a family? What might be an understandable, helpful way for families? All right, I love, Robin, the idea of showing them work samples. I think for some families, it's really hard to gauge, like what, my child's handwriting is like this, their keyboarding skills are this, their math skills are this. What's that look like in what are the expectations for them? Sharing with families what is their child is learning and will be able to do in this grade level that they're in, so families can see, okay, so this is what my child's going to learn and be able to do at this grade level. This is how they're doing in their class. This is how they're doing compared to themselves. These are all things that help families to understand their child's progress. Letting students share their work that's on displays. That's huge. Thank you for sharing that. I think students are the most powerful messenger about what they're learning, what their needs are, how they want to be supported. Phone calls after school when parents to share success. Eric, great example of not waiting. You're being proactive. You're linking it to learning, you're listening and informing families, you're sharing great expectations, you're sharing about progress, you're building relationships. I feel like, Eric, you hit on all of those things in your one example there. All right, Tom, let's bring up another one here. We're going to keep rolling. It's coming. There it is. All right, so multiple opportunities. So for families, and when we're thinking about meeting the needs and reaching our, all families, because I talked earlier a little bit about, well, it's not about engaging just with the families of some students, but with the families of all students. When we sort of limit things and say, if you want to learn about how to register for classes for freshman families, we're going to hold something on one night in the gym at one school on a certain day of the week. That's a pretty small box. There's a lot of families who aren't going to be able to access that. We have, in a sense, privileged some families, the families who have the time and the energy and the transportation and all of that to get there at that time to do that with us. But then all of the families who can't are kept out. We have sort of denied them access to that interaction with us, that information, that opportunity. So when we think about, we really want our families to be on board, understand how to help their ninth graders schedule for their classes. We want families to understand the pathways to graduation. We want them to understand what it takes to graduate. There's so many ways. We want to give families multiple opportunities to do that. Can they come on different nights of the week? Can they watch a video of it? Can they read something about it? Can they call and ask questions? Like, what are the various different ways that we are making that accessible to families in different languages, at different times, in different methods, so that all families can have access to that information. So that's multiple opportunities. So what might it look like to offer this meeting with this parent in different ways? Sorry, I'm talking without my mic on. In person or in Zoom, great example there, sort of giving families that option. We learned how to do that really well. You want to do this virtually? You want to do it in person? Right, we've got option. Go to them. Thanks, Karen. Great idea. Okay, last two things here I want to share quickly because we really want to dive into resources from our center. Number one is understanding and valuing your families, really knowing the families of your kiddos. What is their culture? What is their language? What are their hopes for their kids, as you mentioned earlier? Knowing them well will help you improve our instruction, improve our sort of outreach to them, our understanding of them, and also valuing families, not just seeing our families who are multilingual, who are moving to our communities from other communities and other countries and other places, families who have different and new occupations, that those are all families that we can embrace, understand, and see value and have relationships with. That's an important view for us to take in our valuing understanding of all families. And last, I just want to ask that persist and sustain. So for some families, they're ready to interact with you. They're excited about their kids' schooling. Interacting with them is not going to take a lot of effort on our part, right? They're going to respond right away to us. For families who have a fear of our schools, who have had negative interactions with schools of their own or their kiddos, who have been, had different experiences in their own, different types of schooling systems. With our families, we need to persist and sustain the work that we do. This is not sort of a one and done, a quick thing. It's that persisting to reach out, persisting to call, persisting to write, persisting to let folks know, I'm not going to give up on you or your kiddo. They are important to me. This is the work that I do as a professional, and I really want to support you in the important role that you have together with me to support your child. So really not giving up. I like to say it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. All right, Tom, let's get into some other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about to move on right now to show us a little bit of the website, but I just want to really draw this to a close by reminding you all that I know everyone here is doing awesome work, and some of you are probably already doing a ton of these things great. And we can use kind of this checklist or roadmap as a way to kind of just take stock of where we're doing well and where we might want to improve. And, that changes situationally. So always good to reflect on these, no matter where you are in thinking about your practice. So what I wanted to do here, because this is how you connect with the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center. This really is us. Is this website, is show you around a little bit. We just got a new website, so we're really excited. You're some of the first people we're really showing this to firsthand here. So I'm going to switch over my screens right now, and we're going to go through just a couple things together. So first of all, Dr. Boone dropped the link for our website for our center in the chat there. So go ahead, click that, open it, look around, bookmark it if you might like to. I hope it's going to be somewhere you visit from time to time again. But as professionals, family-facing professionals, the first thing I want to show you is one of my personal favorite parts of the website. And it's right here on the top here. And then I'm going to give you a rundown of the whole thing. I want to start with professional learning, because the one great thing about being around educators is so many of us are dedicated to the idea of lifelong learning and improving practice. If you have some things you want to go over around family engagement, start here. So in our professional learning page, you're going to find all sorts of stuff. We have online courses, which are full on kind of like a lot of times hybrid courses that you will take on a specific topic around family engagement. And most of the time, those are for continuing education type credit. So check all of our information about those to see if that's going to work for you and if there's something you're interested in. But one of my favorite parts here is this learning on demand section. I know that it can be tedious and exhausting sometimes once you get into the middle of the year to continue with your professional development. What are we going to do in that Wednesday after school meeting? Or if you're in a district office, what are we going to do to keep advancing as in a learning organization? Well, right here, I have a suggestion for you. If you come to our Learning on Demand and click here, you will find a variety of videos on every topic around family engagement that you can really think of. If there's not a topic there, I challenge you to bring it up and maybe we'll get working on it. But there is a lot of things here, things around measurement, things about specifics to middle school, things about mental health, things about starting from scratch. What does it look like if I'm not really even familiar with family engagement? And something I always encourage kind of school district people to consider for professional learning opportunities is, why don't in either a learning team or a PD meeting, get around one of these, watch one of these videos, maybe a 20 or 30-minute video, and have a discussion about it. How does this fit into your school? Did this bring anything up that you might want to talk about in your practice moving forwards? It kind of takes a lot of the stress off of the person who needs to organize that professional learning experience, but really robust learning here. And I'm always really excited to show people. Also on that professional learning page, we have a ton more stuff. You can see where we're going to be talking soon. We have a bunch of research briefs that I was going to show you later, but I'll just show you right now, just since we're here. In these research briefs, what we do, and it's really one of the benefits of us being positioned at a research institution like Ohio State, is we take all that literature that you don't have time to read, all those things going into journals, publications, and things like that, and distill it down into, like 5 points, 6 points, 7 points that maybe you could use in a school. And so we have topics here about partnering with families of special education, mental health, middle school, early language and literacy, partnering with grand families, because we know that's a little different. And what I really like about these is, like I said, completely evidence-based, completely research-based, completely up to date with the literature, but distills it into these points that hopefully you can take directly into a school or district setting. One more note about the professional learning page, and I'll move on to some other things here for the last 2 or 3 minutes of our conversation, is our news and guidance. If there's one thing you do today, I encourage you to sign up for our news and guidance here. And we promise not to spam you with emails, but what you get here is a bi-monthly issue on a specific topic related to family engagement. Or recent one just went out yesterday, and it builds upon what I was talking to you about just a couple seconds ago, this partnering with families through special education. And we have experts in there providing their 2 cents. We're connecting to all types of resources that are supported throughout the state. One of the resources you'll find here, and I know that many of you probably know about, is Charting the Life course, which we're really building a lot of support around in Ohio. So really relevant things, hopefully, to your practice. This comes straight to your inbox once every other month, and it is, I promise you, that you will find something useful in it if you're trying to grow your knowledge and skills in this area. We also have a back catalog of all of our important topics that we cover here. Now, the last thing that I'll do here, just in the interest of time, is I just want to show you real quick how it's organized, so that if you want to come here and look for some stuff, you can maybe find it a little more quickly. First of all, search bar works. I use it every day. So if there's something on your mind that you just want to cut through, straight through to what you're looking for, the search bar is actually pretty good relative to, some other websites you visit. So I encourage you to use that. And we also here have our resources divided into 3 main buckets: resources for educators, resources for families. If you want to point someone in a direction of something that's a little more family focused, centered, or friendly. And then also some resources, for community partners. So let's say we're going to be looking for some educator resources. And I'm just scrolling up to show you, oh, it's not there anymore. New website. I'm learning a little bit too. I'm right here. Click on the for educator one. And what we do here is then kind of subdivide into more topics. And here you'll find, things like communicating with families. Wow, can't we all get better at our communication skills? Always something growing. We saw some people are here working K3 environment or pre-K3 environment. Early childhood, got a ton of stuff that way. Elementary school. So then you can just click here and it refilters this for you. I promise you, every resource on here has been vetted by our staff who has decades of experience in this topic and are currently active and engaged in the research and literature in this topic today. So the things here you will find, we stand behind 100%. We're not just linking to stuff. I would say almost nothing on here you can find will cost you money. We try to make sure that this is something that any school district can access and put in their toolbox. So I encourage you to zoom through here, check out things you're looking for. Some of my favorite tools right now is that we have a a letter writing template and rubric for if you're sending home attendance letters or something, right? Those can be horrible to receive, all this legislative language and stuff. Well, we have a template for you to clean it up so it's a little more family friendly. I love sharing that tool right now. We have some surveys and stuff, measurement tools. We have tools specific to middle school, some things around mental health. If I had 2 more hours, I'd probably be able to get through the entire website, but since I don't, I'm going to stop here and just pause to see if you have some questions. And also, Barbara just dropped a link in the chat here that everyone should check out, just with everything we're learning right now about early literacy and some new standards in the state around dyslexia in schools. We have developed a ton of resources for explaining this in a family-friendly language, and then also being able to share additional information with families that might be easier for them to digest around this complex topic. But again, I'm going to stop here, and I'd love to open the floor. If there's any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can share in the chat with us, and we'll be happy to take those.
I didn't really have a question. This is Robin Hamker, but I just wanted to say this is really helpful because family engagement is a really big problem in our district. I work for Cleveland Metropolitan Schools, and it's a huge problem. So I like your idea of the old way and the new way of thinking about it. So I'm going to try to think in a new way and hopefully get more families involved, because it's definitely something we're working on. So thanks for this.
Robin, we're just thrilled to hear that you're working on it, that you see it as a space like where you're learning and you're growing just like everything else. And I hope that you like tap into some of the resources that we have. We we host a network once, let's see, quarterly, Family Engagement Leaders of Ohio, where people from around Ohio just get online and are talking about things. We have our online courses, but also seminars and things that Tom was sharing about you. There's lots of ways to connect. And I shared about our summit. It's a virtual summit. You can sit in your office and attend a whole summit on family engagement. So there's lots of opportunities for you to stay connected. And we hope that, that you kind of see us as a resource to you. We love when people call. We can help troubleshoot and think through things. We love meeting with folks. So thanks, Robin, for letting us know that this is helpful to you.
Well, thank you, Barbara and Tom. This has been an outstanding presentation, and I am just overwhelmed at the resources on the website. I definitely will be exploring them, and it's so good to know that this is a resource that we can trust, that everything has been vetted, and as you say, because so often, I think I know, and I'm guilty of this, and maybe others are too, that when you're trying to get some information or whatever, you just start Googling and see what's out there and that type of thing. And it's so wonderful to have all this. Is just, I had no idea you had all these kinds of resources. This is really, this could have been a presentation by itself, just the resources. The website is just fantastic. If anyone has questions, please feel free to just unmute and ask at this point in time. I want to thank everyone for coming and, for your participation in this today too. I think it's been, family engagement is very, very important in special education. We all know that. In fact, that's one of the tenets of IDEA is the family, and the family being a required member of the team. So I think this has been something that, I've learned some things about, I know, and I hope everyone here has. Thank you so much. This has just been delightful. So if no one has any further questions or anything like that, I think we will go ahead and conclude. And thank you again, Barbara and Tom. This has been fantastic. And really.
Thanks for the invitation, Bernadette, to be here. And we would love to come back. We could do another session just on the resources, or focusing on one thing or another. We felt like we brought a smattering of things to folks today, but we'd love to be able to talk to all of you again.
Thank you. Absolutely. This has absolutely been delightful. And I think we will go ahead and officially conclude for now.
Thank you all. Hi, Earl.
Hey, Earl, thanks for being here.
Absolutely wonderful. Just wonderful as always. Thank you, guys.
Great job. Just so professional. Thank you.
Okey-doke.
Okay, thank you so much. It was so good.